Did you know that some of the world's most successful businesses didn't begin in sleek office buildings but in dusty garages? That's right. Companies like Apple, Amazon, and Google all started as small ideas in a garage. So, what does it really take to grow a business from humble beginnings into something much bigger? In today's video, we're diving deep into the strategies and mindset needed for scaling small businesses from the garage and how you can build wealth from the ground up. We'll cover the essential principles that turn a small startup into a scalable, successful business, even when all you have is a garage and a big dream. And trust me, you'll want to stick around until the end, because I'll be revealing one of the most overlooked mistakes that keeps small businesses from scaling effectively. You don't want to miss that. So, hit that subscribe button, and let's get started. Let's talk about the metaphorical and literal garage. Whether it's a physical space or simply a phase of scrappiness, the garage represents the starting point where dreams meet reality. It's where your passion transforms into a product or service. But why is the garage such fertile ground for successful businesses? And how do you grow from there? When you're in the early stages of a business, your garage phase, you're probably working with limited resources. But here's the thing, that limitation isn't necessarily a bad thing. In fact, having fewer resources forces you to become creative. You learn to solve problems with whatever is available, and this scrappy mindset sets the foundation for scaling your small business into something much larger, perhaps even a multi-billion-dollar company. In just a moment, I'll share how some of the world's most iconic companies like Apple and Amazon use this mentality to grow from the garage to household names, and how you can use those strategies too. One key strategy here is to embrace constraints. It might sound counterintuitive, but having less can often lead to more innovative solutions. If your marketing budget is zero, you figure out how to create viral content, network for free, or get press coverage. If you can't afford to hire, you learn how to automate processes or outsource tasks intelligently. This resourcefulness is invaluable in building a small business that's ready to scale. But that's not all. There's another essential ingredient for success: relentlessness. To scale your business from scratch, you need to develop what some call a delusional belief in your success. That's right. You have to believe so strongly in your vision that no one can convince you otherwise. This isn't just about confidence, it's about faith in yourself and your idea. It's that unshakable mindset that says, "This is going to happen, no matter what." Every successful entrepreneur has a mix of confidence, arrogance, delusion, and faith. You must believe in your success long before anyone else does. That relentless mindset is what allows you to innovate and adapt even when resources are scarce or when things aren't going your way. And let's not forget about courage. Scaling a small business isn't just about executing your vision, it's about facing your fears head-on and taking calculated risks. Often, the very things that scare you the most are the ones you need to do to grow. Overcoming that fear builds confidence, and that confidence fuels your business's growth, taking you beyond the garage phase. I remember when I was starting my first venture, fear was always lurking in the background. The fear of failure, the fear of not making enough revenue, and the fear of losing everything. Those fears were real, but every time I faced them head-on, I grew stronger, and my business began to thrive. That's the key to scaling beyond the garage, embracing fear, learning from it, and using it as fuel to keep moving forward. So whether your garage is literal or metaphorical, remember this: the challenges you face are part of the process. They build resilience, resourcefulness, and the wisdom you'll need to succeed. Scaling small businesses is all about turning obstacles into opportunities and building wealth through ingenuity and perseverance. Let's dive into two of the most famous garage to global success stories, Apple and Amazon. Both of these companies began in literal garages with limited resources but an unshakable vision. Their founders didn't just succeed because of a great product, they succeeded because they knew how to embrace constraints and turn their small beginnings into an advantage. Apple was founded by Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak in Jobs' parents' garage. They hand-built the first Apple computers themselves and sold them to local computer enthusiasts. What set Apple apart wasn't just the product, but their relentless drive to improve. With each iteration of their product, they listened to feedback, improved their designs, and pushed forward. They turned their garage into a hub of innovation, using every constraint to their advantage, and ultimately built one of the most valuable companies in the world. Amazon followed a similar path. Jeff Bezos started his online bookstore in a garage with a vision far bigger than selling books. He understood early on the importance of technology and automation, leveraging both to scale quickly. While he started with a narrow focus, Bezos knew how to adapt and iterate. Amazon's success wasn't immediate, but by continuously improving processes and expanding their offerings, Bezos grew Amazon into the global e-commerce and technology behemoth it is today. So how can you apply their strategies to your business? First, embrace constraints. Just like Apple and Amazon, use your limitations to fuel innovation. Limited resources force you to think creatively, and creativity leads to solutions that can differentiate you from competitors. Second, iterate relentlessly. Don't settle for good enough. Both Apple and Amazon were willing to continuously improve their products and services, listen to feedback, make changes, and adapt quickly to market demands. And lastly, think long-term, but act now. Both companies started with small specific goals but had a long-term vision. Apple focused on building great computers and Amazon on books, but both had a bigger vision of changing their industries. Stay focused on the small steps, but never lose sight of the bigger picture. By adopting this garage mentality and focusing on innovation, iteration, and adaptability, you can scale your business beyond the garage and into something far bigger. All right, now let's talk about creating systems that can scale. Scaling a business isn't just about doing more of what you're already doing. It's about creating the right foundation to support future growth. This is where the conversation shifts from having a plan to developing a strategy. Having a business plan is great, but to really grow, you need a strategy. Plans typically outline specific goals, initiatives, and budgets, but they can give you a false sense of security. You might think, I've got a plan, so I'm all set. But here's the reality. Plans are static, and in the world of business, change is the only constant. According to Roger Martin, former dean of the Rotman School of Management at the University of Toronto and a leading expert on strategy, real strategy development involves stepping outside your comfort zone. It's about avoiding the common pitfalls of traditional planning and embracing the unknown. A plan tells you where you want to go, but a strategy helps you navigate the inevitable challenges and opportunities that arise along the way. Think of it this way. A plan works in ideal conditions, but a strategy is what you rely on when things get messy. Strategy provides the flexibility to pivot when new competitors enter the market, when customer preferences change, or when the economy takes a turn. For instance, take Netflix. Their original plan was to send DVDs by mail, but their strategy allowed them to pivot into streaming and eventually become a global entertainment giant. Had they stuck to their original plan, they'd still be mailing DVDs today, missing out on the streaming revolution altogether. So, while a plan gives you a roadmap, strategy equips you with the ability to take detours when necessary. It's critical to develop scalable systems, systems that can grow with your business and adjust as you learn from real-world experience. Later in the video, I'll reveal the most common mistake entrepreneurs make when developing their strategy, and it's one that can seriously derail your business's growth. Here's the takeaway. Don't get too comfortable with a rigid plan. Plans are helpful, but scaling requires dynamic thinking. Focus on your strategy. Ask yourself, what will I do when things don't go as expected? How can I pivot without losing momentum? This kind of strategic thinking is what separates businesses that fizzle out from those that thrive. And if you'd like to dive deeper into the topic of strategy versus planning, comment below with the word business, and I'll consider making a full video explaining how strategy beats a plan every time. Moving forward, let's dive into the power of iteration. Scaling your business doesn't happen overnight. Even if you've developed what you think is the perfect product, the market won't always respond the way you expect. This is where the power of iteration comes into play, continuously learning, adapting, and tweaking your product or service based on feedback. This is crucial when scaling from the garage phase. Think about Amazon. When Jeff Bezos first started, he didn't have a clear vision of what Amazon would become 20 years later. Amazon started as an online bookstore, but over time, through constant iteration, they expanded into everything from electronics to web services, becoming the global powerhouse we know today. And here's something most people overlook. Scaling doesn't always mean adding more of what you're doing. It sometimes means cutting back on what's not working. I'll explain this counterintuitive strategy in just a moment. Now, as promised, let's talk about the most common mistake entrepreneurs make when developing their strategy and how you can avoid it. One of the biggest mistakes entrepreneurs make when crafting their strategy is focusing too much on short-term gains at the expense of long-term scalability. This happens when entrepreneurs chase immediate wins, such as signing up every client or entering every possible market, without considering whether these actions align with their long-term goals. Why is this a problem? Because by pursuing short-term results, you risk building a business that isn't sustainable in the long run. You may find yourself overcommitting resources, spreading your focus too thin, or entering markets that drain your company's energy and financial resources without adding long-term value. Take a step back and ask yourself, does this decision align with my long-term vision for the business? Be sure to develop a scalable strategy, one that not only works for where you are today, but also supports your growth in the future. Next, let's talk about how to hire smart people. As your business grows, it becomes clear that you can't do everything yourself. But here's where many entrepreneurs trip up. They think scaling means hiring a massive workforce. In reality, hiring smart is far more important than hiring fast. Let's look at Apple as an example. When Steve Jobs began scaling Apple beyond the garage phase, he didn't just hire the first people he could find. He was intentional about bringing on individuals who had not only the right skills, but also aligned with Apple's vision. The wrong hires can slow your business down, while the right hires can help propel your business to new heights. When scaling, look for problem solvers, people who are adaptable and can handle the fast-paced, ever-evolving nature of a growing business. Flexibility is crucial in the early stages of growth, where your company will continue to evolve and you need a team that can evolve with it. But here's the twist. Sometimes the best decision isn't hiring at all. Stick around, because in the next section, I'll explain when you might want to hold off on hiring. As tempting as it may be to expand your team quickly, remember that growth isn't just about numbers. It's about building a strong culture, hiring people who complement your strengths and fill in your weaknesses, and ensuring that everyone is aligned with your company's long-term vision. All right, the next thing is knowing when to say no. One of the toughest lessons to learn when scaling your business is knowing when to say no. It's tempting to chase every opportunity that comes your way, especially when you're in growth mode. You start thinking, more opportunities must equal more growth, right? But here's the hard truth. If you try to do everything, you'll end up spreading yourself too thin and doing nothing well. Scaling small businesses successfully requires the discipline to focus on what really matters and say no to distractions, even when those distractions seem like great opportunities at first. Here's a personal story to illustrate this. In the early days of one of my ventures, we were finally gaining some traction. Things were moving in the right direction, and I was eager to seize every opportunity. One day, a potential client came to us with a massive proposal. It was a lucrative contract, but the project was completely outside our core focus. Accepting it would have required us to pivot our business entirely. After much deliberation, I made the difficult decision to turn it down. Sure, the money would have been great, but I knew that chasing that project would have distracted us from what we did best. A few months later, we landed a contract in the same area we had been focusing on, and it was a perfect fit. Because we stayed true to our strengths, we were able to execute flawlessly. Here's a critical point. Sometimes the hardest person to say no to is yourself. I'll talk about that challenge later. Now let's talk about why saying no to yourself can be the hardest challenge of all. As an entrepreneur, you're likely full of ambition and big ideas. You probably have a vision for what your business could be 5, 10, or even 20 years from now. And that's great. It's important to dream big. But here's the tricky part. Your own ambitions can sometimes be your worst distraction. You might be tempted to expand into new products, services, or markets before your core business is ready. Or you might push yourself too hard to grow too quickly. This is where saying no to yourself comes in. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should, at least not yet. One of the most valuable lessons in scaling a business is understanding timing. You may have incredible ideas that you're eager to implement, but if your foundation isn't solid yet, those expansions can lead to burnout, overstretched resources, and even financial strain. Saying no to yourself means exercising patience and focusing on what matters most right now. It's about recognizing that growth is a marathon, not a sprint. You'll get to those big ideas in time, but scaling successfully requires prioritization and restraint. The key takeaway? Growth doesn't mean doing more. It means doing what you're best at, better. Saying yes to everything dilutes your focus, your energy, and your resources. Success comes from being selective, honing in on your strengths, and doubling down on what truly works. Up next, I'll dive into how technology and automation can help you scale efficiently, ensuring you're growing at the right pace without sacrificing quality. If you're still handling every part of your business manually, scaling will feel like running uphill with weights on your back. The companies that successfully scale from the garage are the ones that know how to leverage technology and automation to their advantage. This doesn't mean you need to turn your company into a tech giant overnight, but it does mean finding ways to automate processes and free up your time. Automation isn't about removing the human element. It's about freeing up time and resources so you can focus on the big picture. By automating repetitive tasks like email marketing, customer follow-ups, or invoicing, you can focus on strategy, growth, and innovation. For example, if you're running an e-commerce business, platforms like Shopify or Amazon's Fulfillment by Amazon, FBA, can handle the logistics of shipping, order processing, and even inventory management for you. This allows you to focus on growing your brand and expanding your product line instead of getting bogged down in day-to-day operations. But technology isn't just about automation, it's also about insight. Tools like Google Analytics or CRM platforms like HubSpot provide invaluable data on customer behavior, marketing effectiveness, and sales trends. This data allows you to make smarter, more informed decisions as you scale. However, not every part of your business should be automated right away. I'll share in just a moment, which tasks you should prioritize, automating first, and why automating too soon can backfire. When done right, leveraging technology helps you create a business that runs like a well-oiled machine. But remember, automation is a tool, not a solution. You still need strong leadership, a solid strategy, and a team that's aligned with your vision. When you combine automation with a well-thought-out strategy, you position your business for scalable, sustainable growth. And that brings us full circle. From the humble beginnings of the garage to scaling up into a thriving, successful business. Remember, scaling isn't about working harder. It's about working smarter. It's about using the right tools, building systems that support growth, and having the right strategy in place. Before you go, here's one final reminder. The biggest mistake businesses make when scaling is trying to grow too fast without solid foundations, systems, people, and processes. Get these elements right before you accelerate your growth, or you risk crashing under your own success. If you found this video helpful, I highly recommend checking out my next video, which complements this one perfectly. Don't hesitate to share this video. It might help someone else too. Subscribe to the channel and leave a comment below sharing which scaling strategies you're excited to try in your own business journey. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep your mindset sharp and your strategies smart. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.